Most of us don't have a bunker. The good news is, if you're not in the immediate blast zone, the room you already have can still protect you from fallout. In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn a normal bedroom into a temporary shelter using simple stuff: tape, towels, books, water, and smart placement. We'll keep it practical: where to go, what to move, what to seal, and what to do during the first 72 hours. This is general preparedness info, so always follow official emergency alerts and local instructions. Let's get into it. Number 1. Know what you're actually hiding from. A nuclear explosion can hurt people in a few different ways, but the part you can still do something about, if you're outside the immediate blast area, is fallout. The blast wave and the heat flash happen fast. If you're close enough for those to be the main problem, you usually don't get much time to react. Fallout is different. Fallout is not a gas, and it's not a radiation cloud that floats through walls. It's tiny bits of dust and debris that got pulled up into the mushroom cloud and then dropped back down. Those particles give off radiation, especially in the first hours, and that's what you're trying to avoid. Heavier particles tend to come down sooner and closer to where the explosion happened, while finer dust can travel farther with the wind, which is why downwind areas can still be at risk. Rain can also pull particles out of the air and bring them down faster. The practical takeaway is simple: get inside. Get as much solid material between you and the outside as you can, and stay there while the radiation level is dropping. If there's a warning siren, an official alert, or you see a very bright flash, treat it as real. Immediately get away from windows, drop low, cover your head, and use the nearest solid cover for a moment, because broken glass and flying debris injure people even far from the center.
The flash comes first. The pressure wave can arrive seconds later, so staying down for a bit is smart. Once the immediate danger from glass and debris has passed, move indoors, fast. Don't stand outside to look. Don't go up to a rooftop. And don't try to beat the crowd by driving, unless authorities specifically tell you to evacuate and you're already in a vehicle with a clear route. For most people, the safest move after the initial moments is sheltering in place, because fallout can start arriving within tens of minutes depending on wind and distance, and traffic turns a simple problem into being stuck in the open. Keep the big picture in mind. Radiation exposure is about time, distance, and shielding. You can't change what happened, but you can cut your dose by spending less time in the dust, putting more material between you and it, and waiting while the intensity drops hour by hour.
Number 2. Pick the room that gives you the most shielding. In a perfect world, you'd use a basement, because the ground and concrete above you are already doing the heavy lifting. If you don't have one, you want the most interior spot you can get, as many walls as possible between you and the outside, and as few windows as possible. A bedroom can work well because it already has the two things you need most: a door you can control, and a lot of dense stuff you can move around quickly: mattress, furniture, books, clothes, even stored water. What matters is not the label on the door, it's where the room sits in the building. The worst choice is a top-floor room with big windows, especially if it's right under the roof. The roof is where fallout dust collects, and windows are weak points for both dust and radiation. Better choices are a ground-floor interior bedroom, an interior hallway, a walk-in closet, or a bathroom that sits in the middle of the home. Bathrooms are surprisingly useful because they're often small, have fewer windows, and they're close to water and a drain, which matters if you need to wash off dust later. If your bedroom is on an exterior wall, you can still use it as your base, but shift your safe corner toward the most interior side, or use the bedroom closet as the inner space. In a large house, the center room is often best. In a small apartment, It might be the bathroom or an interior closet. If you're in a multi-story building and you can choose, lower floors are usually better than higher ones for fallout, and underground parking areas can be useful if they're safe and accessible. Avoid stairwells that open directly to the outside on every floor, because they can act like chimneys for dust when doors keep opening. If you're doing beginner prepping, the easiest win is deciding on your shelter room ahead of time and quietly staging a few items there. A roll of tape, a couple of trash bags or plastic sheeting, a flashlight, spare batteries, and some bottled water. In a real emergency, you won't want to search closets under stress, so having the basics already in the bedroom or the nearby closet makes the whole plan faster. Once you've picked the spot, the next step is making that room behave like a shelter, not just a room. Number 3, keep the dust out without turning your room into a science project. Fallout is mainly a dust problem. You're trying to reduce how much outside air, and especially outside dust, gets pulled into your shelter space. Start with the obvious. Close and lock windows, close interior doors, and turn off anything that actively moves outside air into the home. That means fans, window AC units, and central HVAC systems that bring in fresh air. If you can, close fireplace dampers and cover vents that connect to the outside. You don't need to make the room perfectly airtight. You're just trying to cut the air leaks down a lot. Use what you already have, plastic trash bags or plastic wrap as sheeting, plus tape to hold it in place. Tape around window frames and the edges of vents. For the gap under the door, a damp towel works well because it both blocks airflow and helps trap dust. The same idea works for other small gaps. Use damp paper towels or cloths where you can. Now set up a simple dirty zone right inside the shelter door. A towel, a sheet, or a piece of plastic on the floor where shoes and outer layers can come off if you have to leave the room briefly. The idea is to keep whatever dust gets tracked in from spreading to where you sleep and eat. Keep a trash bag there too, so anything dusty can be sealed quickly. Inside the shelter room, keep the floor as clean as possible because dust that gets in can get kicked back up.
Wipe surfaces with a damp cloth instead of dry dusting, and avoid vacuuming if you think dust might be radioactive, because vacuums can blow fine particles back into the air unless they have a proper filter. Also think about fire safety. If you've sealed gaps and you're using candles, don't. Use flashlights or battery lanterns instead, because a small room full of tape, plastic, and fabrics is not the place for open flames. Number 4, build mass shielding with normal household stuff. Radiation from fallout is mainly gamma radiation, and the most reliable way to reduce gamma exposure is to put mass between you and the source. Mass can be concrete, brick, soil, water, books, furniture, anything dense and thick. You're not trying to block every single ray. You're trying to reduce your dose enough that your body can handle it while the outside level falls quickly over time. Start by moving the heaviest items you own against the outside-facing surfaces of your shelter space. If your bedroom has one exterior wall, push a dresser, desk, or packed storage bins against that wall. If there's a window, cover that area with the densest stack you can manage safely. Books, filled water containers, even boxes of paper. If you have a bookcase, leave the books in it and move the whole bookcase where you need the mass. It's faster and more stable than making tall stacks from scratch. Water is also excellent shielding, and it's useful anyway. So fill every bottle, jug, pitcher, and pot you can. If you have a bathtub nearby, fill it. The water becomes both an emergency supply and extra mass in the house. Packed suitcases, boxes of canned food, and tightly filled laundry baskets
can all add useful weight when you place them along the outside side of the room. Then make an inner core inside the room. Choose the spot farthest from windows and exterior walls, usually an interior corner, and set your mattress there on the floor if possible. The floor keeps you lower and adds a little extra shielding compared to being higher up. Around that mattress area, stack more mass, bins of clothes, folded blankets, books, and water, creating a short wall on the side facing the outside. Clothes aren't as dense as water or books, but a tightly packed closet full of hanging clothes still adds real shielding, which is why closets often make decent inner spaces.
If you can, focus on shielding from above, too, by choosing the lowest level available and staying away from the ceiling under the roofline, rather than trying to stack heavy objects over your head. Keep the setup stable. Don't build a wobbly tower that can fall on you in the dark. Leave a clear path to the door in case you need to move quickly, and keep the room usable. You need space to sit, drink, and check on people without knocking your shielding over. If you want a simple rule to remember, it's this: distance helps, mass helps more, and time helps the most. You're stacking all three in your favor by moving inward, adding heavy layers, and staying put. Number 5. Set up a tight 72-hour routine. Water, food, info, sanitation. The first couple of days matter the most because radiation levels from fresh fallout drop fast with time. A common rule of thumb is the 7 to 10 rule. After about 7 times more time has passed, radiation is roughly 1/10 of what it was. You don't need to do math under stress. Just understand the pattern. Hours matter, and waiting helps a lot. That's why a short, realistic supply plan is so powerful. Start with water, because dehydration makes everything worse, and you don't want to leave the shelter to search for it. Plan on roughly 4 liters, about 1 gallon, per person per day for drinking and basic needs, and more if you can. Store water inside the shelter room so you're not walking around the house later. Next is food that needs no cooking. Canned goods, nut butter, shelf-stable snacks, anything you can eat cold. Add a manual can opener if you rely on cans. Keep food covered or sealed. You don't want dust settling on what you'll eat. Then, light and power. Flashlights, spare batteries, a power bank, and keep phones on low power settings. You will have enough oxygen in a normal room, even with gaps sealed, but avoid anything that burns fuel indoors. No generators, no charcoal, no camping stoves, because smoke and carbon monoxide become a bigger danger than the dust you're trying to keep out. If you need to save battery, switch to airplane mode and check messages at set times instead of leaving the phone searching for signal. Text messages often go through when calls don't, so use short check-ins instead of repeated calls. For information, a battery or hand crank radio is ideal because cell service can be unreliable. It's also the best way to hear official guidance about where fallout is moving and when it's safer to come out. If you have protective items like goggles, gloves, or a well-fitting dust mask, keep them by the door for any necessary movement. But don't confuse that with being radiation-proof. For sanitation, keep it simple and contained. If you have a nearby bathroom that's inside your sheltered area, great. If not, a lined bucket can work. Add a little kitty litter, sawdust, or baking soda to reduce odor, and tie off bags tightly. Put trash in a separate bag and keep it away from your sleeping area. Add basic first aid supplies, any daily medications, and a way to track time. If you have kids or pets, bring their essentials in early so you're not opening doors later. One more practical detail that people miss. Keep shoes at the shelter entrance and try not to walk in and out with the same footwear you wore through the house. If dust is on the floor near entry points, shoes move it around fast.
If you have potassium iodide tablets, understand what they are and what they aren't. They can help protect the thyroid from certain radioactive iodine exposures, but they do not protect you from fallout as a whole, and they should be taken only when public health officials recommend it or a medical professional has told you to include them in your plan. While you're waiting, keep your routine calm and simple. Drink water regularly, eat small meals, and stay in the inner core as much as possible instead of pacing near doors and windows.
Number 6. Minimize exposure if you must move, and decontam the right way. The safest plan is to stay inside your protected pocket until authorities say otherwise. If you have no information at all, many emergency guidelines focus on the first 24 to 72 hours as the key shelter period, because that's when radiation drops the fastest. If you absolutely must go into areas that might have fallout dust, like a hallway near an exterior door, a garage, or outdoors, treat it like a contamination problem, not a toughness test. Cover skin with long sleeves and long pants, wear closed shoes, and use gloves if you have them. A well-fitting dust mask helps reduce inhaling particles, but remember, it doesn't block radiation. It just keeps dust out of your nose and mouth. Move quickly, touch as little as possible, and come straight back. Before you enter your main shelter space, take off the outer layer of clothing and bag it. Removing dusty clothing can eliminate most contamination right away. Leave the bag outside the inner area, ideally in that dirty zone near the door. Getting the dust off your body matters more than fancy gear. If you can shower, use soap and shampoo and rinse well. Avoid aggressive scrubbing that can irritate skin, and skip hair conditioner because it can trap particles in hair. If you can't shower, wipe exposed skin and hair with damp cloths, then bag those cloths. Put on clean clothes that were stored inside, and keep your outside shoes and gear separate. Wash hands before eating or handling food, and keep kids from sitting on floors near entry points. If you brought a pet in from outside, wipe paws and fur with a damp cloth and keep them in the shelter area so they're not tracking dust around the house. Inside the shelter, keep dust from spreading. Don't shake clothes. Don't sweep dry. And don't vacuum unless you're sure the vacuum has a proper filter and you can keep the dust contained. When it's time to leave the shelter for longer, do it based on information if possible. Radio updates, official alerts, or local instructions, because fallout patterns depend on wind, rain, and where the detonation happened. If you must travel, keep car windows closed and set ventilation to recirculate so you're not pulling dusty air inside. Before you settle back indoors, change into clean clothes and leave outdoor shoes at the door so the space you sleep in stays as low dust as possible, and keep a damp cloth by the entrance so you can wipe hands, faces, and small items without spreading dust deeper into the home. After any movement through dusty areas, wipe down frequently handled items like phones, glasses, keys, and door handles with a damp wipe, and treat the wipe as contaminated waste by bagging it. Small habits like that keep the inner space cleaner over multiple days.